Conjugate Nation, Chapter 10. We are back from Denver, Colorado. I just had about a 4-day weekend, so this week's video was a little bit rushed. Here's Tyler with 315 for max set for pin press. We're about, I would say, maybe 6 to 7 inches of a pin press here. I worked up to 385 for a single. Put the slingshot on then and hit 405 for 1 or 2, I think. Moved into some push-up work. It was almost like a deload week after Monday. Had a cramped week, so I went Monday, Tuesday, conditioned Wednesday, and then lifted Thursday and Friday, and I flew out Saturday morning to Denver for a vacation with my wife and a couple friends. It was an awesome vacation. Hiking in the mountains was incredibly hard with the high altitude. We hiked up 7,000 feet on day 1. We hiked up 10,000 feet on day 2, and ended up doing some whitewater rafting on our last day, which was freaking awesome. It was a ton of fun, a lot of memories, and hoping to get back out there soon. Here was my deload squat day. Ended up hitting 30-35 for 3x3. Wasn't much of a deload. I was pretty sore from this, to be honest. I haven't done a raw box squat in a while. My groins were pretty lit up. Here's an accessory that I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks. It's just a dumbbell stiff leg, but I got my shins against the bench. I believe a guy out in, I think it's California, Brandon something. He made a device called a vert pull. So the vert, this is my cheap way of doing a vert pull. It really isolates the hamstrings well, trying to keep the shins as vertical as possible. Here's my press day. Wanted to get creative. I had about 65 pounds of weight, and I had some chains. It was definitely a stability issue. It was awesome. We were working a couple different things, and then I moved into a set of 5 pull-ups. I did 10 sets total, and then got back to doing some band tears. I haven't done these in a while, but I looped a micro mini band and doubled it, and really definitely feel it in my upper back. I've been doing these now had about 4 sessions doing these, and each time I do them, the upper to mid back is absolutely lit up. Here's Kyle with a PR press at 245. Does a good job driving his head through. A little push press, gets underneath it, locks it out strong. We have Chris Hull coming up next. We have Chris Poole and Sumo trying to change things up to get him up to a 500-pound deadlift. I think he has it in him. He's also wearing a belt that he's not really used to. He does 2 dead stop pulls here at 405. He is approaching 50 years old, and a goal of his is to pull 500 and to squat 500. So I think he's there. A couple weeks of consistent training should do him good. Here's his son Sammy banging out 445 for I think 5 or 6. Was talking with Sammy at the gym today. We both work over at Made Strength and Conditioning in Nazareth. He was concerned because he says my first pull is always my hardest. And he says, once I get in a groove, I'm pretty good. But I talked to Sammy just about using maybe some accommodating resistance, some bands, some speed pulls. He knows how to grind, but he's not very fast with the bar weight. So maybe they throw that in his training regimen. Maybe he can change things up for him. Here's Steve with an absolute JV recording angle. I mean, I'm not sure. He's been a part of the project here for a while. He's still vertically filming his videos, but it was a rep day for him. I believe he did 8 sets or 3 sets of 8 there with about 245 pounds. I'm sure he was feeling lit up from it. Here's our Friday. Me and Tyler had worked with like a high box squat with bands. Like I said, I was pretty tore up from Tuesday, so it was kind of a lighter week. I worked up to 385 plus the bands, then we moved into some rack pulls. Here's Tyler giving a shot at 495. He comes really close. Gets a little forward on his toes, and he doesn't really lock it out, but he does feel the weight.
Nice.
Comes close right there, but he couldn't squeeze his glutes enough to lock the weight out. Not a bad rep, though. Here's my 405 for a double. Then I moved into 495 for a double. I definitely had more in the tank, but like I said, this was actually my last day of school. I am on summer vacation now, and right after this, I had a busy day, and I flew out the following morning, so didn't want to push it too much. But it felt good, something to come back to in the future. Here's a pretty cool thing Kyle did. His deadlift ladder all the way up to 495, so I cut out 135, 225, and 315. Here's 405 for a double or a triple, I think. double, okay, and then he moves into 495 for a single. This was all done in about 2 minutes, which is pretty incredible. It's a lot of volume. It's a lot of conditioning work. You got to be able to hold positions when you're tired, and he does that. He does a good job driving through his hips, locking it out, and it's a different variation of training. Some guys got to do these things. Kyle's definitely doing some different training these days, but it's all built around getting stronger and getting in more shape. So hope everybody had a nice week. I know I'm a little late on this release, but we'll have another one coming out this weekend. Stay safe and stay strong.